Okay, welcome to Tracing Your Family Roots. I'm Chuck Mason, and I am past president of both the Mount Vernon and the Fairfax Genealogical Societies. And Janelle Blue is the current secretary of the Mount Vernon Genealogical Society, soon to be the president. And our guest today is Patricia Walls Stamm, the education manager of the National Genealogical Society. Before we get started, I just want to give you a little bit of a brief explanation. If you're a regular viewer of the show, you will have seen that we have been doing a lot of reruns. We've had equipment changes here at the station, and after 19 years, Arlene and Sally Ann have decided to retire. So we had some work to do to get the show started, and we have the Mount Vernon Genealogical Society as a sponsor, and Janelle is going to be here as my co-host. So today we're going to talk about libraries and library resources. And the first thing that I want to ask Pat is, with all the stuff on the internet and everything else, why would you go to a library?
Oh, that's one of the easiest questions to answer. Libraries have been collecting material for years and years and years. In St. Louis, where I'm from, we have our main library, and they've been collecting since the 1920s. Genealogical publications done by societies and quarterly newsletters and books and papers and all sorts of things like that. And these are things that people don't seem to understand do not make it to the internet.
Well, and you also have a unique collection out there that is something that people can borrow.
Yes. I am very proud to say that the National Genealogical Society Lending Library is out at St. Louis County Library. And that means that if you go onto the county library website and you do a search on a book, you can find it. It tells you that it's part of the NGS collection, and through interlibrary loan, you can borrow this into your local facility. Now, the key on this is a lot of people are not aware of what interlibrary loan is. That means that with the title of the book, the author of the book, and the publishing information, you can go to your local library, usually a place called Adult Services or something like this, and give them this information. They go out, they find the book, and they bring it into your local library so you don't have to travel. Isn't that fantastic?
Yeah, that is.
Now, with the NGS collection, do you have to be an NGS member to borrow books, or is it open to the public?
It's open to the public. So that makes it easy because, again, the library staff handles it from one library to another library. It can't go to a private collector, and the rules of the receiving library sets the parameters. So that might mean that they have to use the book in the library and they can't borrow it to their home facility.
Does it always have to be a genealogical library that we go to?
No, no. You know, people think that genealogical libraries are the only way to go. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of genealogical libraries around here. You guys are so fortunate because you have so many. In St. Louis, again, we are very, very fortunate because we have St. Louis County, St. Louis City, Missouri Historical, as well as the ones across the river in Illinois. But some of the local libraries, even though they don't have genealogical material, they have historic information about their location. So Webster Groves Library has a great collection of information about Webster Groves, or any of those small little libraries.
Well, I think there's a misconception about what a library has too, because many people say, well, I'm not from this area, so therefore, you know, the St. Louis Library isn't going to have anything for me, and that's not the case. It's amazing what you might find in a library that has nothing to do with that area.
I was just up in Wisconsin at the in Madison at the Wisconsin Historical Society. Now, in my mind, when I first went up there a couple years ago, I thought, oh, Wisconsin. Well, I don't have any Wisconsin roots. This library has been collecting material from across the United States. They have 6 floors of genealogical material. And while I was there, I made a breakthrough on my Delaware line.
Oh my goodness.
Okay?
Well, and that's one of the things we have here in the Fairfax County, Arlington, Alexandria area. Arlington and Alexandria focus on the city and the county, Arlington being a county, Alexandria city, and Virginia, where the Fairfax Library focuses on across the country. And of course, we have another library. Do you want to talk about that just briefly?
We have a research center at our Mount Vernon library, and there's also an online catalog, so you can go to our website and see that. But we have donations all the time that are coming into our center, and that's open for anyone.
Well, and one of the things that I tell people, because they often think because we're the Mount Vernon Genealogical Society that we're connected with George and the mansion, and that the library only has things on George Washington and Mount Vernon, and we do have a large collection there. So what can you find in books that are not in your local library in the area?
Well, the one thing is, if you know the title of the book, there is a what they call WorldCat catalog. It's worldcat.org, and a lot of the libraries have a connection into it. What you can do is you can put the title of the book in there, or you can put the author of the book in there, and then the books will come up. You decide which one is the one that you're looking for, and when you click on it, a chart at the bottom will display, and you can put your zip code in there, and it tells you how close that book is to you. So you can see if, okay, maybe my city library doesn't have it, but the county library has it, and that's only 9 miles away from me. So it's easy for me to go there. I don't have to do interlibrary loan. I
was going to say, and what happens if it's, say, out in Chicago?
Then you take the information to the librarian and see if they can do an interlibrary loan for that book.
And what I have found is that they usually try to get the closest library to where you are to get the books in. Do you know if there are fees involved in interlibrary loan?
It depends upon the 2 libraries involved. Sometimes there are a small fee, okay? But it's a heck of a lot cheaper than traveling, okay, or getting on a plane. The one thing I will say to you, and this is a story that I have, when I was first doing genealogy, I was going up to the Delaware Genealogical Society, and I found a fantastic book that had a bunch of the Walls family in it. And I knew exactly where it was. It was right next to the door that went to the gift shop. It was on the bottom shelf, and it was a red cover, okay? I had all this memorized. So the next time I went back, you already know the story. The book was recovered, and it was in a different place in the library. And because I didn't have the title, it took a while for me to find that book. So always, always, always copy down at least the name of the book and the publisher and the author. And what I've gotten to a point of doing is with digital equipment and whatnot, I always take a picture of it with my camera. So I have that available to me.
You had the experience. That's how I learned about citing my sources, because mine was the Halloween Orange book of cemetery transcriptions that I knew was an inch wide, and when I went back, they had got new shelves in the library, so they had rearranged things, and I was positive they had lost the book. It took me 6 months to find out. No, it was a black, so Halloween again, half-inch thick book. So I learned about that. But it is important that we know what books we're looking for, and that's why title pages or writing it down in your notes are so important. does your library have genealogical subscriptions to things that are on
Oh,
the
the
internet?
subscription sites are fantastic. And it really depends upon your genealogical library. Most libraries have the availability of what they call Heritage Quest online. And with that, all you need is your library card at your home computer. And you can go onto their subscription sites and see what kind of things they do. They may have newspapers. They may have a subscription site for Find My Past or Ancestry, but usually what you will see with those two is that you must use them in the library.
Okay.
Doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go to the genealogical library. You can use any of the branches that have access to that subscription site, but you have to use it in the facility versus going and using it at home.
Yeah, we started out here in Fairfax County with some of the subscription sites only in our genealogy collection and what they call the regional libraries, which were the larger libraries. And then I guess probably close to 10 years ago, they added so that the little tiny bird library around the corner from me in Springfield has the access to the internet collection or the genealogy collection on the internet. And what does Mount Vernon have? We'll give them a plug since this is a local show.
Right. Well, we certainly have Ancestry, we have Heritage, and of course Family Search, which is accessible to anyone on that. So, and then plus we have lots of just periodicals and other things.
Now, one thing I will say, okay, one other library that we really haven't thought about as such is the community college library. Okay, one of the community college library, again, has a lot of the historical data from the area, but they have a wealth of internet resources, subscription sites for their students. So a lot of the times they may have a more developed newspaper collection, historic newspaper collection, or such things as the Sanborn maps, okay, that are available to the students. You can use it. Many of the community college libraries will allow you to use it if you go into the facility. But if you take a class, again, with your student ID number, you can access it. And I teach for the St. Louis Community College in my spare time. And one of the things that they do are they are always offering a new service. And so they're trying these trial subscription sites out, so you can look at that on their site, on the side of their website too.
Well, and not just in this area, not just community colleges, but we have so many colleges and universities with libraries that, you know, doesn't just have to be a collection of genealogical websites or genealogy. If you need something with having to do with the law, there are the law libraries. However, as one law librarian did tell a group that I heard him talking to, don't do it during finals week.
Good point.
But you can go into many of the colleges and use the various collections. Part of this discussion was about some of the colleges, and although it's a little far, Charlottesville, the University of Virginia, has 28 libraries within their collection, and so there are a lot of possibilities of using things there.
Well, and along with that, you know, so many people say, well, we have all these papers from our family, and I don't know who's going to inherit them, and I don't know who cares about them. And I always say, well, find your local library, find your genealogical library, because they would love to have those things, and that way they're available, you know, to future generations.
Right.
And the key word on that one is manuscripts, because a lot of people don't think of manuscripts when they're looking for their genealogical information. We ended up, like I said, up in Wisconsin, and they have a collection in their manuscript collection on diaries. Now, this may not be your family's diary, but if it is somebody in that particular area, that gives you a feel for what is going on at that given moment in time.
Well, and you may actually find that your family is mentioned in somebody's diary. As one of my friends found out, there was a diary she found about a woman traveling in a wagon train, and they stopped because this other woman was giving birth, and it happened to be her ancestor.
Goodness, that was lucky.
You know, she just happened to find a lucky find there. Now, we also want to talk about some online sources. So what is Google Books, and how can that help us?
Oh, Google Books is fantastic, and we have a slide showing you the entry for Google Books. It is https://books.google.com, and you go in there and you put in either a keyword or a title, and the next slide that will come up, and I did this with the Civilian Conservation Corps, it ended up giving me a listing. Now the second entry, if I'm not mistaken, will tell you I can select all of Google Books. These are previews and downloads, but it also tells me I can get my free Google downloads, because Google has been going out and digitizing books from libraries across the country.
That's wonderful.
Okay, now not all books are digitized, understand that, but this is giving you some of the historic perspective for this area. So that is number one. There's two other ones that I really like.
Well, I just wanted to say on Google Books, I had a particular name that I was looking for, and I just put it in, and it turned out that there was a reprint, because there are these companies that will go in and do the out-of-print books, and this thing was exactly what I was looking for, and it was, you know, had been long out of print, but I found it on Google Books, so I was able to order it.
Oh, fantastic. And a lot of the time with Google Books, what they will say is, okay, we don't have it here, but you can order it through Google, okay? But Google isn't the only one to order it through. There's another, and I'm putting in a plug for this one. It's Abe's Books, and what they do is they have various books from various libraries that are cleaning out their collection, and they have them at a discounted price. These are gently used books, and you can get a description on it. What ended up happening is I was at Fort Wayne Library and found a book on my Canadian family. And when I looked on Amazon, it wanted $150. Now, I like my family, don't get me wrong, but $150, I kept thinking I can do a lot more Xeroxing than $150. So that night I tried it again, and I found Abe's Books. And Abe's Books had it for $50. Well, I couldn't get my credit card out fast enough.
I guess.
Well, and I have found that, you know, Amazon, also eBay, you know, different places, it pays to look around, because, you know, like Elizabeth Mills' Original Evidence, which is a source citation book, I've seen it as cheap as a little less than the original price of $18, and I've seen it for over $100.
Oh my goodness.
So with searching Google Books, I find, like, for example, the Family Search website, I have to be creative in the searches that I do. If I do a place name search, I have to search the state, the county, and the city or the town, because different things come up. Is Google Books a similar situation, or can you just plug in a whole town with the county and the state and everything's going to come up?
You must be careful with your word searches, and if they have, and they usually do, have a frequently asked questions section. Check that out first, okay? Do they use Boolean logic? Do they use the quotation marks where it's keeping the phrases together? These are important ways to do this. And don't get bogged down in just surname searches and place searches. Use some keyword searches. In the last thing, I used Civilian Conservation Corps, and that worked out fine. when I did Civilian Conservation Corps with Missouri, it didn't work as well for me. So I went back to my original Civilian Conservation Corps.
And I'm sure over time, as you play with these, you get to understand their quirks.
Yes.
So, what is Internet Archives?
Internet Archives, I have another slide for our Internet Archives, and that is a website that has a number of things on it. Besides books, and that's the second character on there, it has films, it has music, and all sorts of things. Some of the local music authors have started to upload their information onto Internet Archives. Internet Archives is also a library site, and when you do a search on their website, it comes up like this. Now, this screen is very, very similar to what we see in Family Search, where you have the left side of the screen where you can filter your results, and the right side of the screen giving you the results. And if you see, they have a number of different books, both historic books and current books and charts. When I did it the other night, again for Civilian Conservation Corps, they came up with a ERIC paper, okay? And ERIC is a college paper that was published in somebody giving a doctorate or whatnot. And these are collectibles. These are in the government docs, but it's some really great stuff. So you see some of the historic perspectives that you may not see in the government periodicals that are published.
Mm-hmm. And also, what is Haiti Trust?
Oh, Haiti Trust, and you guys are so fortunate here. Haiti Trust is a collection of material that started with the University of Michigan. These are university libraries that are starting to detail and digitize their information. You have to be an affiliate of one of these libraries, but here in Virginia, Maryland, Delaware, if you have a Library of Congress researcher's card, you have access to Haiti Trust. Mm. And you have access to the full book on Haiti Trust versus just an individual page.
Wow.
Okay, it is fantastic. And you can do that at home. And again, I did a search on Internet Archive, or I did a search on Civilian Conservation Corps for Haiti Trust. And the slide looks like this. And again, the screen is split in two parts. The left side of the screen is your filtering agency, and then the right side of the screen is your actual documents. So you can go down through it and see. And I think they had 400 and some results for Civilian Conservation Corps.
And what kind of materials was coming up? Was it just books?
It was just books.
Just books.
It's
okay.
just books or papers. Again, some of them were the collections, but for the most part, it's the books.
Yeah, one of the things that I was told in a lecture was this is a good place when you are looking for the laws of a particular state to understand the records, understand what's going on. I do a lot of research in New Jersey, and although I don't get up there as often, I always would go to the staff member in the state archives and I'd present my problem and I'd say, okay, what was the law in, as an example, I wanted to find out, did they ever, during any period of time, give anything more than the city, or the country or the state where someone was born for the parents, like on a birth certificate. So she took me over to the stack and pulled out the proper book, and no, it is always, there's no more detail supposed to be given. So, but I've been told that Haiti Trust, you can look those kinds of things up for yourself. We have just a couple of minutes left. One of the things that I want to point out, I found this quite helpful with the Library of Congress site, is the Ask the Librarian. Up on their main page, there is a box where you can ask the librarian. And if you click on that, it will take you to a list of all of the various reading rooms. And then you can ask a specific question of a specific reading room. And I've used this often, so I don't run down there and find that they have something or don't have something that I want. I also used it once with a manuscript collection room, and they actually did the work for me. They went, I had a citation, and I said, what do I need to do to look at this? And the next day I had it scanned and right there on my computer.
Don't overlook their newsletters or their blogs or whatnot, because a lot of the times, like with the Library of Congress, they will send out a notice saying we're doing a certain orientation for this collection or whatnot. It's worth the time to go down and listen to the librarians and see an on-site tour. But they give you all sorts of really great information.
But even at the local library, the librarians are so invaluable, and they know so much about the area that they can really save you a lot of time.
And I've also found just sending either an email or calling libraries, they've been so helpful. This has been very interesting, and Pat, we always appreciate your coming and visiting us when you are in from St. Louis.
Yes.
We look forward to it because you have been a great wealth of knowledge for our viewers. And Janelle, I want to thank you for joining me.
Well, thank you.
And looking forward to doing more shows with you.
And congratulations on the new show.
Yes,
It's fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, Pat.
Uh-huh.